Hello everyone, today I will explain about the place of the syllabus in language teaching. So, I will explain about the definition of syllabus first. In the first chapter, Franke begins by defining what is meant by a syllabus in the context of foreign or second language teaching. It is the plan or framework that specifies what content, such as language forms, functions, or notions, that will be taught and in what sequence. It also relates to how language teaching content is chosen. The second one is syllabus as a bridge between theory and practice. So, the syllabus embodies decisions rooted in both theories of language, an example, what language is and how it works, such as structure versus meaning versus use, and theories of learning, like how people acquire or learn languages. And these underlying assumptions affect what is selected for instruction, such as which language features, tasks, or content, like how the material is sequenced and the relative emphasis on form versus use. The third one is what syllabus content entails, subject matter versus linguistic matter. So, Franke distinguished between subject matter, the real-world topics, notions, functions, situations, and tasks, and linguistic matter, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. A syllabus integrates both what is being talked about or expressed and how it is expressed. There is a spectrum. Syllabi may lean more toward linguistic matter, for example, grammar, or more toward subject matter, such as meaning, content, communicative situations. The fourth one is the importance of conscious choice in syllabus design. The choice of syllabus type is a major decision. It shapes everything in teaching, like in materials, classroom interaction, and assessments. Cranke argues that such choices should be made consciously with awareness of what is being assumed about language and learning and what consequences follow. The decision is not neutral. Different syllabus choices privilege different skills, different language features, and different classroom practices. The fifth is range or continuum of syllabus types. Coyne introduced the idea that syllabi differ along a continuum from those that are highly form-centered, such as focus on grammar or structure, toward those that are highly content or use-centered, like focus on meaning, communication, task, and content. That leads into the later chapters that define six types of syllabi: structural, notional functional, situational, skill-based, task-based, content-based, and chapter 1 sets up the need to understand these types and the factors that will influence choosing one or combination of them. The sixth one is some criteria or factors that affecting syllabus design. Franke begins to point out what influences syllabus choices. The first one is learner needs. What the learners want or need to do with the language, like in communication, academic, social, and work. The second one is contextual constraints, like time, institutional goals, teacher expertise, and availability of materials. The third one is the nature of language use, whether language is viewed more as forms to be analyzed or as means of communication. And the last one is the balance between form and function, or form and meaning, like how much explicit attention to linguistic form versus how much to use in meaningful contexts. Seventh, the importance of clarity and order, or sequencing. Designing the syllabus involves not only what to teach, but in what order. A considered sequence helps learners build on prior knowledge and avoids overload. There is also mention of how parts of the syllabus may require that earlier items are foundational for later ones. And the last one is the role of syllabus in teacher and learner expectations. The syllabus helps clarify what is expected of students, what will be covered, and what level of mastery might be expected. And it also provides a guide for teachers in selecting materials, planning lessons, and assessing progress.
Hello, my name is Nopan Ibtina Rahda with student numbers 06011 28 222 7023. Today I will explain 6 types of language teaching syllabus in shortly. And in practice, this type rarely stand alone. Most courses mix 2 or more, but one type usually dominates. Now let's talk about the first one, which is a structural or formal syllabus. This syllabus organizes language teaching around forms and structures of the language, and usually it focuses on the grammar. Now the second one is a notional or functional syllabus. This syllabus organizes language teaching around what language is used for its function and notion. The third one is a situational syllabus. This syllabus is one in which the content of language teaching is a collection of real or imaginary situations in which language occurs or is used. The next one is skill-based syllabus. This syllabus is one in which the content of the language teaching is a collection of specific abilities that may play a part in using language. These skills are considered independent of any particular situation. The next one is a task-based syllabus. This syllabus is a series of meaningful tasks that students need or want to complete using the target language. These tasks have purposes beyond language learning, but performing them helped develop second language ability. Language teaching happens naturally as needed during the tasks. And then the last one is a content-based syllabus. This syllabus is not really a language teaching syllabus at all. It focuses on the teaching subject matters or information, and the language is learned along the way. Overall, the 6 types range from those focused on language structure to those emphasizing language use, showing a continuum from form to the meaning. The 6 principal types of language teaching syllabi can position along a continuum ranging from those that emphasize linguistic form to those that prioritize meaning and communicative use. At one end, the structural syllabus relies heavily on pre-analyzed grammatical forms and structures. At the opposite end, the content-based syllabus places primary emphasis on subject matter, with language learning occurring incidentally through engagement with the content. Between these extremes, the notional functional syllabus connects linguistic forms to typical communicative function or notion, while situational, skill-based, and task-based syllabi situate language within context of use, whether through specific settings, the practice of particular skills, or the performance of purposeful tasks. Each approach has demonstrated potential for facilitating language acquisition, though task-based syllabi remain relatively recent and less extensively tested. In practice, selecting, adapting, or combining the syllabus types requires careful consideration of their respective strengths and limitations, as well as the specific needs and objectives of the learners and instructional context. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, my name is Dandi Ramadan with last student number 021. So I would like to explain about structural syllabus. The structural syllabus, also known as the grammatical or formal syllabus, is perhaps the most traditional and widely recognized approach to language teaching. At its core, this syllabus type creates language learning content around grammatical structures and patterns. Think of it as building a house. You start with the foundation of simple structures and gradually add more complex elements as learners progress. The key principle here is that language is viewed as a system of structurally related elements. These elements include phonological units, grammatical operations, and lexical items, all working together to encode meaning. To understand the structural syllabus, we need to look at its historical roots. This approach, established from the structural linguistics movement of the mid 20th century, heavily influenced by linguists like Charles Friis and Robert Lado. During the 1940s through the 1960s, the audiolingual method dominated language teaching, particularly in the United States, and structural syllabus was its backbone. Next, it's about the example of structural syllabus. Textbooks are not syllabi, but they frequently become syllabi, and they certainly reflect what informed writers believe should be the content and order of teaching. Rather than provide an example of an imaginary structural syllabus or of a real but unrepresentative one, the content and order of several representative ESL textbooks are provided as examples of structural syllabi. The following partial content list is from a textbook series for beginning students of ESL that is structurally organized, although it contains some situational content. The book is New English 900, published in 1978 by Collier Macmillan. The structural syllabus offers several significant advantages. First, it provides clear organization and systematic coverage of grammar. Teachers know exactly what to teach and what order, making lesson planning straightforward. This systematic approach ensures that no important grammatical structure is overlooked. Second, it's highly teachable and testable. Progress can be easily measured through tests that check whether students have mastered specific structures. This makes it appealing for formal educational settings where assessment is important. Third, it gives learners a solid foundation in grammar. Students who complete a structural syllabus usually have good knowledge of grammatical rules and can produce grammatically correct sentences. This explicit grammar knowledge can be particularly valuable for academic writing and formal communication. However, the structural syllabus has faced significant criticism. The main concern is that it doesn't reflect how people actually use language in real life. Communication isn't just about correct grammar, it's about conveying meaning in context, and students might know all the grammar rules but still struggle to have a natural conversation. Another limitation is that it assumes a universal order of difficulty. What is simple in one language might be complex in another. For instance, article usage might be straightforward for Spanish speakers learning English, but challenging for speakers of languages without articles. Furthermore, this approach can lead to mechanical, boring lessons focused on drill and repetition. Students might lose motivation when they can't see the immediate communicative value of what they are learning. They might ask, why am I learning the past perfect when I can't even order coffee in English? The structural syllabus also tends to neglect other crucial aspects of language competence. Cultural appropriateness and strategic competence often receive little attention.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, my name is Iksan Yolende Swambing and my student number is 018. Today, I will explain about notional or functional syllabus. Notional or functional syllabus, also known as contemporary language syllabus types, Its main idea derives from examining language from its uses and social functions rather than in isolation. If language is seen as the relationship between form and function, notional or functional syllabus focus on functions or communicative purposes rather than the form or structural. Here is a graphic example of form and function relationships. Let's think about form first. If we take an example of will, there are many different functions such as future, promising, and predicting. Now, if we think about functions, let's take an example of future. There are many different forms such as be going to, will, and be plus in. Since there are various scopes of functions, determining the specific syllabus content involves examining the type of discourses the learners are going to need to engage in order to put them together in a language teaching syllabus. Notional or functional syllabus have been around much shorter than structural syllabus, although aspects of them have longer history. The problem in using them are similar to structural syllabus, which are low transferability and sequencing difficulty. The benefits of notional or functional syllabus is 1. Communicative focus. It prioritizes real-world skills over isolated grammar rules. 2. It's learner-centered. Content is often based on what situation learner will face. 3. Promotes fluency. It encourages spontaneous language use, which can build fluency and confidence. 4. Contextual learning. Lesson is taught and context, making it more meaningful and easier to remember. 5. Flexible structure. Allows integration of grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation with meaningful communicative functions. Disadvantage of notional or functional syllabus. 1. Its limited grammar focus may neglect systematic grammar instruction. 2. Hard to sequence. There is no clear progression from simple to complex. 3. It's difficult to assess competence with traditional testing methods. 4. Its surface level of practice may lack depth and not ensuring deep language acquisition. 5. Preparation demands. Teachers need to create or adapt material which can be time consuming. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Afzal Rasendria with the last student number 019. Today I'll explain about situational syllabi in language teaching. What are they? Why teachers use them? Their strengths and their weaknesses. Let's start with a simple idea. Situational syllabus organize course content around situations, like real life scenes, ordering food, going to the dentist office, or a news report. These situations give learners a context to hear and use language naturally, and not just isolated grammar drills. There are different types of situational content. One way to sort them is by how specific the setting is. First, limbo situations. These are general, like introduction and parties. The place doesn't really matter that much. The second one is concrete situation. Specific settings where the place is important, like a restaurant or airport. And the third one is mythical situations. Fictional stories or invented settings with characters and plots. Each type shapes what language learners focus on and how realistic the practice feels. Situations can also focus on different language aspects. You can design a situation or to highlight a grammar or pronunciation or vocabulary. Or you can teach language functions like apologizing, asking for permission, direction, and even bigger, discourse features like how conversations flow. Sometimes the teacher provides a full dialogue as a model. Other times, students must create or improvise the language themselves. For example, in role plays or scenarios where they must solve an unexpected problem themselves. And why use situations? There are clear benefits using situations. Situations put form and meaning together. Learners see how grammar and words work inside real interactions. That helps move learning up from sentence level into real discourse. Situations also let teachers show cultural and social information naturally, how people act or what they talk about, without a dry lecture. And for learners who need to perform in predictable settings, situational practice can be very efficient. But also it's not a perfect way to learn. If situations are too artificial or scripted, students may just memorize their routines. Useful for us for that very specific task, but not for a creative and flexible language use. Also, making truly authentic situational language is very hard. Teachers or textbooks writers might rely on intuition and unintentionally create language that native speakers don't actually use. And because concrete situations can be very specific, they can become outdated fast. Think about technology, slang, or social norm that change all the time. There are also sequencing problems. It's tricky to decide which situations should come earlier or later, and how to control what language appears in sequence without making things feel fake. Finally, situational content can clash with a local value if it brings in cultural assumption that doesn't fit the learner's context. So we as a teacher, we need to adapt. It's important. Don't take the source one to one. So when should the teachers use situational syllabi? Mostly part of a mix with other method. Situations work great to introduce new materials, to practice a language in a realistic way, or to give a continuous storyline through a course. They can be the backbone of conversation-focused course or efficient tool for learners with a narrow, predictable needs, like interacting with waiters or handling a simple travel task on airport or train stations. Situational tasks are also excellent corrective tools for students who know grammar but lack real communicative skill. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for watching.